Today, I'm showing off some indie comics you should know about. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is a very long-awaited Dope Comics Spotlight. I always struggle with a couple things on this channel. One is just putting out videos. I just don't have the time to record videos that I used to. And so when I do, I feel like I gotta make it count, whatever that means, right? But the other thing is showcasing books from creators that may be lesser known or books that you may not hear about on other comic shows or even at your local comic shop. And one of the cool things about doing what I do is that I get to have conversations with independent creators. And I don't mean just like people with books over at Image or Boom, right? But truly indie creators, small press creators, people that are crowdfunding, they're self-publishing, and I get to read comics from them as well. And then hopefully I can tell you guys my thoughts about them and maybe put some of those books on your radar that weren't on your radar before. And so I started the Dope Comic Spotlight a while back with the goal of making it a monthly show. And I'm pretty sure this is episode 2. So my bad. But for the last 3-4 months or so, I've been getting like little indie comics in. And now I've got a massive indie comics haul to show you. And it took me a minute to get this out because I wanted to actually read all the books before I showed them off. So before we get into some of these books, I want to give a huge shout out to Black Box Comics, who did not send a book, but they did send some really cool t-shirts. So this is for a book they have called Ninja Kaiden, which is really awesome. And then we've got another one for a book they've got called Dead Detective, which that's really cool. So this is just, I guess, direct to garment printing the covers on the shirt. So, I mean, if you're judging a book by its cover, these are some really cool books. But Black Box Comics is a company I came to know because they are publishing Empath, which is a series by a friend of the channel, Brian Hawkins, about a superhero whose power is empathy, which gets him into some trouble. Is he running from his own demons while trying to embrace the demons of others? And how does that determine, or how does that influence the type of justice he's handing out? A really dope series. I haven't checked out anything else from Black Box, but thanks to these shirts, there's a couple titles on my radar. So I wanted to give them a shout out before we go. But now let's jump into some of these comics. I'm going to start with this one. This is Here Comes Calico, issue number 8. This is the final issue of the 8-issue miniseries. Now, Sigma Comics has been, or Calico specifically, this title has been kind of a staple on the channel from really early on. They reached out to me back when I had like 200 subs and was like, hey, we want to send you this book. Check it out. Tell your audience what you think about it. And so I've been following Calico for these 8 issues. This is basically the Punisher for all you Punisher fans. If you like just sort of 90s comics, I won't say old school, but like 90s comics, just the action, the extreme type stuff, and like some of the darker side of comics, you'll enjoy this. This guy, Calico, he's basically a prize fighter, or a former, well, he still does prize fight. But basically he's got this super high-tech suit. So there are agencies after him trying to take advantage of the technology that he has in his suit. But he uses this suit to fight crime, but specifically to fight against, basically inhumane people that are mistreating animals. So he's fighting against animal abuse. As you can see, he's holding a cat in this final issue. This book has, like I said, a lot of high action. It's definitely brutal, like some of the brutal killings you might see on a Punisher type series. And it's definitely rated M for mature, right? And so because of that, I'm kind of in and out of the story. There's parts of it that are like a little too explicit for my taste, but I'm really proud of Double H, H.H. German, who's the writer of this series, because in the time that I've been covering it, it's gone from like a Kickstarter book to a book that's just a staple on the convention circuit to a book that is now getting distribution through the direct market in Diamond. So you can actually order this book through Diamond or from your local comic shop. They'll get it from Diamond as long as there's stock. And you can check out Calico for yourself. So if not, go to simplycomics.com. Tell them I sent you. So that was the first thing I wanted to shout out. Issue 8 of the 8-issue series. Now the full series is complete. And I'm proud of the team over at Sigma Comics for accomplishing that. Speaking of teams that I'm proud of. Now, if you have heard me talk about a company, well, if you like indie comics and specifically indie comics from Black creators, then you will enjoy Hive Comic-Cade or shopping at Hive Comic-Cade. I've shouted them out a few different times because they're the ones that I got my Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer single issues from. And then when I did the All Negro Comics video tribute, they're the ones that gave me or sent me the hardcover to cover that. Well, I purchased it from them. But Hive Comic-Cade, they're local to Raleigh, North Carolina. They post, they do these different like pop-up events. I think the next thing they've got is like some kind of a movie screening just before Free Comic Book Day in a couple of weeks. But in addition to being a retailer of comics, they are also a publisher of comics. And this is their first comic. This is The Family Bonds, issue number 1. It's written by Brandon Bell, who is one of the partners over at Hive Comic-Cade. And it's about this family who is basically like, it's kind of unclear what they do, but they're basically like traveling missionaries. And so they set up shop in these different, like, I won't say third world countries, but like less fortunate areas, right? Well, their oldest kids are going to high school. They want a more normal life. So they're about to like leave the sort of camp that they are living in. And through a series of events, some of the kids end up with superpowers and eventually the whole family does. And now, as they end up with these superpowers, they're seeing these other things that are going on in the area they're from. And it's like, okay, are they going to just up and leave, or are they going to stay and help the resistance now that they have these powers? So The Family Bonds issue number 1 was super dope. There is no issue 2 just yet, but I think it's dope to get in on the ground floor of this series because I really, really enjoyed issue 1. And so Hive Comic-Cade, check them out. Next book I want to shout out is a book from Keenspot, which is a publisher, a smaller publisher that you can order through your local comic shop because they got the distribution through Diamond as well. But this is Zor. Zor issue number 1. Zor is basically a tear come to life, a little girl's tear that has come to life. Basically, her mom has passed and she's got this one sort of charm or memento from her mom. And that is, I believe, her mom's wedding ring. The wedding ring falls down the drain and the girl is really upset. So she starts crying. Her tear somehow comes to life and is this guy, Zor, who I'll take it out of this packaging so you can actually see it. But this tear is like a super adventurer and he's going down through the depths of like the world in your drain to find this ring and bring it back to the little girl, his maker. This has really, really fun art. And it's written by Rob Potchek, who we call Potsy, who is an editor at Keenspot, I believe, but he's also local to the Raleigh area. In fact, if you go watch, there's a video I did of like a movie screening at Hive Comic or hosted by Hive Comic-Cade that I went to. And when I went, it's like a little local Comic-Con type thing. Potsy was doing sketches. He actually sketched a Spider-Gwen for my daughter. So that was pretty cool. But this is Zor. It's written by Potsy. The art is by Mike Adams, aka Gecko. So really, really cool. Charming, cute book. Issue 2 is out the week of Free Comic Book Day. So just coming up. This next book is a book or a series that you've seen me talk about. I had the pleasure of speaking with Matt Mayer Lowry on the Comics Are Dope podcast a little while back for the Kickstarter for Thoughtscape issue number 4, right? That Kickstarter didn't exactly fund, but because of the experience, Matt was like, yo, do you want like physical copies of the Thoughtscape books? And I'm like, absolutely. Thoughtscape is a sci-fi anthology series. And basically there's like this evil corporation, Thoughtscape, that kind of runs everything in life. And so there are different stories that come from the Thoughtscape world. Like there's this thought officer that goes around policing the thoughts of people, like make sure nobody's thinking things they shouldn't be thinking. The company also like makes like these dolls. So there's this story, Adorable Orphans, which is like basically what if American girls came to life and were evil. There's this one, Thoughtscape 2319, about the thought information officer and the sort of adventures that she gets into. There's also this series, Spy Without a Face. And the art on this one is, I can't remember the name of the artist. The company's called LifeTech, not Thoughtscape. LifeTech kind of controls the Thoughtscape. But a Spy Without a Face is got art by Tyrell Cannon. All of the stories in this anthology are written by Matt Mayer Lowry. But what I really like about this is, one, it's sci-fi. I'm not a huge sci-fi fan, but it's usually because the world building is difficult for me. This has like the sort of uniting theme of the evil corporation that's out to like, get everybody. But it's different stories. It's really quick in and out, like, and each book is kind of like a different genre, so to speak, each part of the anthology. And I really like that. So it's like I'm enjoying sci-fi without being like, I don't know, watching Lost in Space or some random sci-fi thing that I've never seen, so I can't comment on. But that's Thoughtscape. Now, what's really cool is, like I said, the Kickstarter for issue 4 did not fund, but be on the lookout. It looks like he's relaunching that campaign for issue 4. What I love about it is it's really nice paper quality. It's perfect bound. Like, this is a really, really high quality presentation for an indie or a small press book. A lot of times you'll see like just lesser quality from the truly indie comics. But I like it. I like it a lot. But be on the lookout though, because issue 4 is on the way. It even came with some bookmarks and trading cards. So that's cool. Issue 4, the Kickstarter didn't fund, but it looks like they're relaunching that Kickstarter, and maybe issue 4 will just be digital for now. I don't know, because it's in the pre-launch phase. So I don't know what the rewards are, but rest assured, I'll have more information about Thoughtscape for you by the time the campaign goes live. But that is a really cool comic. And like I said, I'm not even a big sci-fi head, but I loved this anthology. So check it out. Go to thoughtscapecomics.com to learn more. And the last shout out I want to give is to an indie publisher that reached out to me via Instagram. They are called Critical Entertainment. Now, these guys are also published, or they're an indie publisher, but they are distributed through Diamond Comics Distribution. So you can order their titles at your local comic shop. And they sent me a few samples. As far as I can tell, there's 2 guys that are basically in charge of things over there. They're both writers and publishers with the company, but there's Mason Mendoza and Christopher Rada. They're pretty cool people. At least their books are very cool. I've never met them. But I'll start with this book, because this is the first one I read. This is a book called Planetary Expansion. There are 2 issues, or at least there were 2 issues that were sent to me. And basically there's this company that is allowing people to like go on these manned flights and basically start a colony on another planet. And so we're following this one guy who basically lives his life as a mercenary and is very excited to start life anew on this new planet. And so we open up with a super high action scene, like just showing the life that he wants to leave behind as a mercenary. And then we see this sort of high speed montage of him doing all of these things, like kind of getting the last little bits of fun in that he can. So he goes bowling, he gets into a bar fight, bowling, goes to a pool hall, gets into a bar fight, has a quick little romance with a lady, goes out and gets a cheeseburger, like just all these different things that you figure, hey, if this is my last day on Earth, here's how I want to spend it. And then, of course, it ends with them getting on the boat or the ship to go to the new planet. I haven't read issue 2 just yet. I wanted to save it a little bit, but really enjoyed Planetary Expansion issue number 1. I should note, though, this series is rated M for mature. There is one scene in here of a sexual nature. It's not graphic. There's no nudity, but it is obvious as a sexual act taking place. So there's that for Planetary Expansion. Now, the second series I read from them was The First Americans. This is written by Christopher Rada with art by Tad Galusha. And this basically follows like this sort of, I guess we can call them a prehistoric tribe. They're not like quite cavemen, but they're definitely like a scavenger tribe. And it's just them kind of trying to make their way on Earth and migrate and all these different things. This is a mostly silent comic. It reminded me a lot of that cartoon Primal by Gennady Tartakovsky. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but the dude from Dexter's Laboratory. But anyway, Primal is a series on Adult Swim about this basically caveman and his adventures. It's all silent. You just have like a cool like movie score or whatever for everything he's doing. This is very much like that. Like you're seeing them fight against different animals and go and hunt and gather and all the things. Really, really well done. I love the art in this one. And this is just issue 1 called The Bering Straits. Hopefully there's more of it. Next one is a series by Mason Mendoza. This one is called Lifeboat. Basically, like the planet Earth has already been destroyed somehow. And so this lady is a space captain who is just kind of like leading the little colony that she's got out in space. But we know that we start this off knowing that the world or the universe is going to explode and end. And this is basically how she spends her last days and hours in the ship before the entire universe comes to an end. Really, really cool. I like it. I'm assuming it's a one-shot because I don't know how you continue your story from here, but that was really cool. And perhaps my favorite of these books from Critical Entertainment is this one, Life is an Open Door, also written by Mason Mendoza. This one's got art by Alonso Molina Gonzalez. Sorry, I try to shout out the artist. But this is basically like also a silent issue. There's like no dialogue in this at all. But this is a world where like dogs and cats work in an office. The dogs are basically like the workers, like whether they're call center employees or accountants or just data pushers. I don't know what they do, but they are working, and the cats are the supervisors. And so it's basically like just everyday office antics, but it's a complete silent comic. And so you see them like during the middle of the day, you see one dog kind of get chewed out by his supervisor. And then like you see him on LinkedIn, like trying to find another job. You see like a sort of workplace romance taking place. You see even like when it's time for lunch, the dog's all running out, like super excited to be out of the office. Really, really fun stuff. Like just a funny take on a world where dogs and cats like are people. And of course the cats would be the supervisors. That's funny to me. Anyway, Life is an Open Door was a really fun book. So that's Critical Entertainment. Now, they actually sent me these bookmarks because they've got other titles as well. So Lifeboat is one that I showed you here. They've also got Zombie Zero, which I've not seen. There's also The Cowboy with Many Hats. And all of these are available through Diamond. So you can go to Previews World, see if they're still available and order them there, or I'll leave the web information for Critical Entertainment down below. So that was the long-awaited indie comic spotlight for, let's just call it winter, spring 2024. There are several books that I've been sent digitally as well. I'm going to have to do a separate video on those, but really, really wanted to shout out all the creators and publishers that have sent me their books to review. I wanted to give you guys an honest assessment. So like I said, I apologize. This video is kind of late, but I needed a day where I could actually spend time reading the books before I just say, hey, here's a bunch of books that somebody sent me for free. So there you go. Hope you guys check out some of these series and enjoy them as much as I did. And until the next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.